You look at the Liverpool 11 yesterday. It wasn't actually that bad. First choice keeper, Alisson. First choice fullbacks, Alexander-Arnold and Robertson. He has now got 4 centre-backs at the football club, okay? But he chose to use 2 midfielders at centre-back. That's his choice. 2 of the centre-backs he has were not even on the bench yesterday. The new signing, Ben Davies and Reece Williams. In midfield, he's got Thiago. I'll get to him in a second. Wijnaldum and Jones. Decent. And up front, he's got his first choice, Salah, Firmino and Mane. That's his starting 11. That's not bad. I would not expect that 11 to get battered 4-1 by Man City. So here's the 10 things, Andy Townsend. One big injury and it's fallen apart, okay? I know they've had other injuries, but that's one big injury and it's fallen apart. Man City had Aguero out yesterday, De Bruyne out yesterday. If you'd said at the start of the season, without Aguero, De Bruyne and Laporte, they'll start steaming away at the top of the table, you'd have been laughed at. So one big injury for Liverpool, it's fallen apart. So it's built on sand. Thiago, I think, is a bizarre signing. Lovely touch, gorgeous passer of the ball. He's a winner in his career, sensational, but no energy, no dynamism, so he's not Liverpool. Ben Davies not even on the bench, I don't get. Starting 11, not that bad, as I just said. Firmino, they could do better. Salah, massive diver. I'll say it, I'll call it. Massive diver. Got away with it again yesterday. How can VAR not see that's a massive dive? 2 wins in 9, 4 defeats in those 9 as well. Klopp was moaning before the game about City having COVID. I mean, what is he talking about? What's that got to do with anything? He's moaning after the game about Alisson having cold feet. Losing it. Trent Alexander-Arnold is not a defender. I was actually genuinely shocked how easy it was for Sterling. I know Sterling's brilliant, but wow, I mean, that was stunning. And the last thing, when it's going well for Andy Robertson, he's cocky and confident. When things aren't going well, he goes missing. So there's a little bit of character called into question. Maybe some of these players have got to grow a bit. You can't question what they've done, Andy. No. Been European champions and Premier League champions. But so much wrong and so much more than just one big injury, isn't it?
It is. I would disagree on a few things that you've said there. With Thiago, I disagree that he's not dynamic or he lacks energy. He's a different type of player. Last season, when they were winning everything, when they were romping every game nigh on, people were saying they need to control games better. They need to have someone to dictate the tempo, to slow down, to speed up. They can't keep playing foot to the floor, 100 mile an hour forever and ever. They need somebody else in there to change an emphasis in that respect. He kind of is that man. Now,
but aren't they heavy metal? So if you put Henderson in Thiago's position yesterday and actually play a centre-back and centre-back, does that not improve them? I
think it does, Aid. I think it does. But I wonder, and I think that Jurgen Klopp is already looking at the team and looking at the makeup of the team and thinking, how much longer can we actually keep playing at the rate of knots that we do, at the speed and the intensity that we have done over the last 3 years?
This is fascinating, because I haven't heard this before. So you were saying then that this Liverpool team has run its course and it has to evolve.
It's got to evolve. James Milner now is no longer the James Milner he was a year and a bit ago. He's still a great squad player. He's still a fantastic pro. But you're not gonna put James Milner in that team and all of a sudden think, wow, he's ready to stay in there for another 25 games and I can play him every week. You can't do that. So I genuinely feel that Jurgen Klopp has probably, loads of managers do this, Abe. Loads of managers get something in their mind where they think they might have to change something. Even when things are going well, they're trying to look round the next bend, round the next corner. And he's thinking, this has got to evolve a little bit. Milner's not getting any younger. Can I ask, when Wijnaldum's contract's up, he might go. So what am I going to do? Is Curtis Jones ready in there and is Curtis Jones that kind of player to play foot to the floor, sacrifice himself totally without the ball maybe in order to, there's a lot of things that the coach is having to try and compute here, and I think that he's probably starting to think, I need to find other ways to try and win. And you know what? He's not the first manager, if he is thinking that, to lose a bit of what they've got. Loads of managers bring players in and think, I'm ready to kick this team on to the next level. They go backwards. And I think for Jurgen Klopp to ask that team, which is basically pretty much the same team, when they've all been fit, when Van Dijk was fit, and when they're all there, Aid, it's pretty much the same player, apart from maybe one change in the middle of the park. It's pretty much the same team week in, week out. His best 11. And if he could, he'd roll it out every week. But you can't do that forever and expect to just keep winning matches because they're going to run out of gas. It looks to me a little bit like Liverpool have had to turn to other players and it doesn't suit them. It's not working. And now he's got the big dilemma. He'd like to He'd love to be able to turn back to what he had, but they're not there at the moment. Those boys aren't ready for him.
It's interesting that with 2 centre-backs on the bench and with 2 other centre-backs not even on the bench, not in the matchday squad, I wonder what Jordan Henderson, who probably wants to play in midfield,
of course he does,
and Fabinho, who wants to play in midfield, when they see the team sheet, when they're told you've got to play centre-back, are they thinking, what is this guy doing? No,
because he'd have been talking to him all week. He'd have said, listen, look, I've brought in 2 players. I tend to agree. I'd have thought Kabach, the kid that come from Schalke, put him in. Put him in. I think if you're taking someone out the Bundesliga, and again, someone that Jurgen Klopp, I'm sure, has done plenty of homework on, and people might have said to him, great prospect, Jurgen, not ready for the Premier League yet. But he might be ready for 2, for a couple of games. He might be going for 2 or 3, get you over a little bit of a spell where you can just recover a little bit and restore a little bit of confidence in the camp. You can put Henderson back in there where he's more influential. Don't tell me Jordan Henderson can be as influential for the team where he is as opposed to playing in the middle of the park, because he can't. He can't do that. So I'm a little surprised that Klopp didn't go with one of those centre-halves alongside Fabinho and release Henderson a bit. But it's a different-looking team, and it's a team where the confidence has gone, the mojo has gone, the spark just has disappeared. I thought the relationship between Salah and Mane earlier on in the season looked like they hate each other. I mean, listen, and that's not the first time. There's been loads of that over the years, players not getting on in the same team, and you live with that. But it looked to me like it was starting to affect the team a little bit. It did. Now, they appeared to sort of overcome that. I don't think Sadio Mane's quite got to where he was. Salah's been back amongst the goals recently. So you could argue that looks a little bit more like it was up top. But it's behind that and at the back where they've had their issues. And it's affected the fullbacks. They don't look quite as energetic as they were.
So right. The Curtis Jones chance where he rolls it just past, it takes a little nick, doesn't it? Goes, Andy Robertson's in his own half. Whereas before, Trent Alexander-Arnold would have been bombing that diagonal to Robertson. Not Jones.
Because when you get beaten, when you start losing matches and when things aren't quite going, you doubt. You start to doubt. So if you're Andy Robertson and Trent, you're not flying forward. You're not thinking, do you know what? I don't even have to think here. I'm just going to bomb forward and I'm going to get on the end of things.
Because they haven't got Virgil behind them. That's what they're thinking. When Virgil's in the vicinity, they know they can go and do what they want.
And there is... So what we are, I think, witnessing is a knock-on effect of a number of things. It stems from Van Dijk. He's such an influential player. Look at Harry Kane when he don't play for Spurs. The difference to when he does. One-man team, of course, is a bit of a daft assumption in many ways. Of course it is. But there are certain players, when they come out of a team, the roll-on, the knock-on effect that has on the way that you play, the way you set up is enormous. And you can't underestimate the fact that's happened for Liverpool with Van Dijk.
They've been called bad champions, haven't they, Liverpool? But their top 4 place is in jeopardy. Never mind retaining the title, which simply isn't going to happen.